Welcome back to the Morning Mindset, my friends. I am glad you are here. It is time for you and for me to get our minds aligned with the truth of God. I want us to take this very seriously because the better aligned we are with God's will and purpose for this day that we're living right now, the more effective we will be at living out the indwelling presence of Christ so that the world around us can see it. And getting our minds aligned with God's truth is part of what enables us to do that. Now, we're looking at the book of 1 Peter. We've moved into chapter 5. And in this section, Peter is describing the role and responsibility of leaders within the church. He says he is exhorting the elders among the readers of his letter. Now, exhortation is a strong word. He is strongly encouraging these church leaders to take on a certain attitude about their role and to be sure that they are carrying out that role in alignment with certain principles and patterns. The first that we covered yesterday is that they are to shepherd the flock of God, exercising oversight. Now that implies some kind of care, and it's most likely in doctrinal ways, in senses of things where people could be deceived or led astray. The elders are to be watching out for those things and to kindly, carefully come in with a loving attitude and help people discern those kinds of things within the church body. He says next, they are to do this role not under compulsion. This is in verse number 2. Not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have them do. You see, some people can feel compelled to be a church leader because they don't like saying no to people, or they don't like what others might think of them if they were asked to be in that position and didn't do it. They might feel like people would think they were afraid or that they didn't feel very confident, and so they'll step into the role in a misguided sort of way under compulsion. Or maybe they might even feel strong-armed by someone else in leadership, which, by the way, should not be happening. But I guess it could qualify as a means by which someone serves as a leader in the church under compulsion. Peter's saying, if you feel compelled in a negative sort of a way, then you shouldn't be serving as a leader in the church. You should not be serving out of some sense of obligation that's negative and burdensome. He goes on, he says, but doing so willingly, as God would have you be. You see, church leaders need to be people who believe in the role and actually want to serve in the role. So there's nothing wrong with having the kind of ambition that would say, I want to serve as a church leader. There's nothing arrogant or selfish about that or pushing yourself forward. In fact, Peter's making it clear that God often puts that on the heart of someone to serve in that kind of a capacity. And he says, but as you do so, as you struggle with that decision, you should also not be serving for shameful gain, but eagerly. Now, shameful gain could take on all kinds of definitions. But I think what he's getting at here is that this is not to be an ego play for someone who's moving into church leadership. It also should not be a power play where they're taking a position of leadership in order to have leverage over others. Those are not to be motives that are a part of the motivation to become a church leader. But they are to do so eagerly because they want to serve, because they want to help, because they want to shepherd people and help them in their spiritual growth and to thrive in a spiritual sense. You see, this role of church leadership is a very important one, and a very important one for you to consider, perhaps. I ask you, think about the areas where you might serve as a leader in your church. And is there some tug, some calling that God has placed on your heart regarding that subject? And turn around and look at the leaders who are in your church now. How can you better support them? How can you better pray for them, knowing a little more of what their role entails? Tomorrow, we're going to wrap up this section about church leaders, and I'm going to make available to you a special resource for those of you who are interested in church leadership. So be sure you tune in tomorrow and tell a friend about the Morning Mindset as well. Join me again tomorrow.